Tlaca is a chemical engineer. He has an MBA and he is Mexican. Tlaca is marketing director for Europe, Middle East, Africa, and India for the industrial solutions business at Dow. But more important for us tonight is his commitment in LGBT plus inclusion. He is the leader of Dow's LGBT plus employer resource group, GLAD, and he was 2 times present in Outstanding. This is the list of LGBT plus role models in the group of 30 future leaders.
Okay, so as Henry rightfully said, I have the pleasure to be here tonight to talk a little bit about from awareness to impact, businesses in the driver's seat. So let me go back a little bit to the extract of the presentation that I prepared for you tonight. The social mission of companies is to generate profit. And long-term profitability is only achieved when sustained competitive advantage is a reality. But how can organizations achieve sustained competitive advantage through time? How can we at the companies generate at the same time competitive advantage, enable inclusion, and enable inclusion initiatives that touches the lives of people that is also outside of our organizations, also outside of our company, and touches the lives of the societies and the communities we operate at. Let me come back a little bit. When a company wins and generates profits, it pays taxes, it pays salaries, generates employment, and stands true to its mission of delivering products or services that are in line with their expertise. So winning for companies and being profitable is not only a stakeholder-oriented or stockholder-oriented mantra. It is, in the bottom line, doing good by doing well, or doing well by doing good. How companies win in the long run? How can they sustain this competitive advantage? I'm going to explore a little bit about this during my presentation, because it relates about how companies can be able to adapt to changes, innovate to respond to the world's needs, and transform to excel over their competitors. Let me show a phrase that in my mind illustrates very well the idea on how can inclusion be a differentiating factor to achieve competitive advantage. This is a quote from our CEO, Jim Fitterling. To be competitive, you need to have a culture that people want to come into and stay a part of. And I think this is a very powerful statement, going back to the fact that a strong culture that is responsive to the world's needs really develops into something that can embrace the power of diversity and go beyond of respectful, respect of the otherness from an outside and passive perspective into an active inclusion of everyone's unique attributes. The organizations that are able to drive culture in this sense, they become a safe environment in which everyone is welcome, not in spite of their differences, but they are acknowledged, embraced, and welcomed because of what makes them unique. This enables the attraction and retention of the best and brightest, because we need to remember that organizations and companies are out there in a quest for talent, for having the best in their ranks, and it enables the flourishing of an engaged workforce. An engaged workforce is able to better adapt to a challenging world. A diverse, engaged workforce is able to more effectively innovate and stand ahead of the competition. In a place where every one of us feels safe, every one of us feels valued, every one of us feel we can flourish and achieve our personal and professional goals, it is a place where we will also are going to contribute with the best of our own selves. So in the end, inclusion means business. Inclusion means profitability. Inclusion means a strong way to develop a winning culture. And I'm not here to tell you about the variety of studies that are out there that underline the value of inclusion within the organizations. There is a breadth of them coming from consulting firms, coming from reputed universities. I'm going to tell you a little bit now more about how have we embraced it in Dow. Dow has been a pioneer in this arena. And we pride ourselves of having an openly gay CEO that is one of the most influential CEOs of the corporate world and is a proactive LGBT advocate. But having an organization that today has an openly gay CEO is not a coincidence. We have gone a long way in the agenda of inclusion. Back in the day, in 1999, Dow included sexual orientation as one of the categories that are protected by our non-discrimination policy. We were one of the first companies in achieving this. And we also pride deeply ourselves of walking the talk. Whenever we say something, we will do something about it. So immediately after, in 2000, the year after we included this pledge in our non-discrimination policy, our ERG network for LGBT inclusion was founded. So this means that we have been 20 years working in LGBT inclusion inside and outside the organization. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the achievements of our ERG. In 2002, same-sex partner benefit was a policy globally in the company, wherever legally possible, of course. In 2005, Dow was the first chemical company to score 100% in the Human Rights Campaign Corporate Equality Index. And we have proudly achieved this 100% scoring year over year, every year since 2005, and the years to come will not be the exception because we will work hard to make it happen. In 2007, gender identity was added as one of the protected categories of non-discrimination policy. Also in 2007, we went beyond of battery limits to do corporate citizenship programs to influence the societies and do proactive advocacy in the places where we operate. In 2011, we launched the first chapters across Europe, in Switzerland, one of the first of them, which I have now the pleasure to lead. In 2012, I personally had the opportunity and the humbling experience of working together with very enthusiastic people from Latin America to open the first chapters in Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, and Argentina. And later, in 2018, we had the opportunity to open the first chapters in Asia and India. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about our journey of transgender inclusion in Latin America. When we opened the chapters in 2012, marriage equality was a fact in Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina, and some years later became a fact also in Colombia. But we were trying to go beyond only sexual orientation and being able to increase self-identification rates relative to sexual orientation, and we wanted to go to the gender identity space. So we made sure that whenever we had open positions, we would also advertise them, not only in the traditional media that we would advertise open positions, but that we would go out to those sites that are targeting transgender population and that these positions would be advertised out. The sad outcome was that not a lot of people came, not a lot of people was interviewed. And then we tried to find out, we tried to establish relationships with similar organizations like TransWelcome in Brazil and in Mexico, and try to find out what was missing, what was the missing link that prevented the transgender population to come to our doors. So we did a little bit more of research, and I'm going here to offer you some shocking facts of the transgender reality in Latin America. According to the study, Transgender in Latin America Unfolded from Otherness, which was published in the reputed Mexican newspaper El Universal, today, 3 out of 4 transgender people in Latin America were kicked out of their homes as children. More than half reported to be discriminated against by healthcare providers. The life expectancy of transgender people is as low as half of those that are cisgender in Latin America. And up to 25% trans people dropped off junior high school, their education, because of harassment. And then as they progressed in their academic journey, they fell. And it is rare that they finish a university degree. And I'm sorry if I'm emotional because I'm from Mexico, you know, I'm from Latin America, and this is a reality that is sad, but it's true. According to Transgender Europe, in 2018, Brazil occupied the shameful first place in transgender homicides in the world. So under this very adverse environment, a group of brilliant entrepreneurs of the ERG network of DAO in Latin America thought together how to overcome the challenges. How can we as an organization become a safe place to include, to employ, to train transgender people? And the results were fantastic. So first, what we did is get the house ready. So make sure that we have locally compelling policies for hiring trans people, for being able to transition employees that were already in our ranks that needed to go through a transitioning process, and overall support for situation in which probably economic dependence of our employees need to go to a transitioning process. So this means a child or someone, you know, direct economic dependence of our employees would need support. That the way the company would handle this was clearly stated in our policies. But then policies without execution are hallucinations. So we needed to make sure that the policies became alive. And the only way to make them alive was through training. So we developed a formal training that is tracked within the HR registries of training that was first targeting the leadership team of the Latin America executives, so at the level of the president and his staff, and from there cascade down to make sure that all the executives across the DAO Latin America team were cognizant and able to bring the policies of inclusion to life. And at the same time, we did a bottom-up approach, training the overall employee population in the same training. Because we also come from the fact that gender identity, sexual orientation, gender expression, biological gender are topics that oftentimes are not taught at school even today. So we needed to fill for that gap. Once we had policies, once we had training, we thought we had the right environment for transgender population to flourish. And we were able to take the next step. So a group of great people in Brazil and in Argentina take this forward. They contacted our provider for apprenticeship training in Brazil that is called ANURAP. And together with them, we were able to put together a training program to hire temporarily apprentices, young people in schooling age that were able now to work, so that were able to legally work, but also were in schooling age, give them a contract of 18 months in which they will receive formal trainings from ANURAP, informal trainings from DAO, and most importantly, a competitive salary that will make them able to continue their studies and provide some economic support back to their households. When we did this, we catalyzed change and tried to fill up for the gap in the education end. And we did a very similar approach in Argentina. Probably the only difference is that instead of relying on a third-party provider of training, we made a consortia together with other great companies as General Electric, Accenture, and SAP. We came together, we put together the training curricula, and we hire these people in schooling age to train them. They rotate 6 months in each of the companies. And once they finish, they are ready to go to the job market. So let me tell you with great pleasure what have been the results of this program. So up to date, 11 people have gone through this program. 5 of them are still in their temporary 18-month contract with the company. 4 of them have been hired either by DAO or some of the partners of the program, which is fantastic news because we wanted to make them able to have a positive story and go back to the job market. And the program has been focus of business media, both in Brazil and in Argentina. We have been able to advertise it in our social media campaigns of the company, in LinkedIn and in Facebook. And it has been an overall amazing experience. What we want to do now is replicate a little bit of these learnings. So what we're going, the phase in which we are today in Europe, now that I'm leading the ERG network, is a little bit the stage of getting the house ready, making the policies across the several countries that are across Europe to make sure that we are relevant, we can tackle the different situations of hiring, transitioning, and welcoming in our workplace, and from there making locally relevant situations. Because the Latin America experience is relevant and particular to Latin America. We want to understand what is the situation we're confronting in Europe to make sure that we do something that is compelling. And this is why we partnered with Transwelcome, and we have a long-standing relationship with Steffi and the organization for a number of years today. So we're very much willing to execute and to show to the world that culture can drive business, and above all, companies, when they do good, they also do well. So thank you very much. It is a pleasure, and I'll be happy to take some questions.